The year 6423. The Pechenegs entered the land of Rus for the first time, but when they made peace with Igor, they went their way to the Danube. At this time, Simeon subjugated Thrace, and the Greeks summoned the Pechenegs to aid them. When the Pechenegs arrived and wished to attack Simeon, the Greek generals quarreled. The Pechenegs, on seeing how they were quarreling among themselves, returned homeward, but the Bulgarians came to blows with the Greeks, and the Greeks were cut to pieces. Simeon took Adrianople, which was first called the city of Orestes, son of Agamemnon, who in ancient times was cured of a disease by bathing in 3 rivers, and then named the city after himself on this account. Subsequently, the Emperor Hadrian restored it and named it Adrianople for himself, but we call it Adriangrad. The years 6424 to 6428. Romanus was set up as emperor in Greece. Igor waged war against the Pechenegs. The years 6429 to 6437. Simeon attacked Zargrad, ravaged Thrace and Macedonia, and presumptuously appeared with a large force before Zargrad. He then made peace with the Emperor Romanus, and returned into his own country. The years 6438 to 6442. The Magyars attacked Zargrad for the first time, and ravaged the whole of Thrace. Romanus made peace with them. The years 6443 to 6449. Igor attacked the Greeks, and the Bulgarians sent word to the emperor that the Ruses were advancing upon Zargrad with 10,000 vessels. The Ruses set out across the sea and began to ravage Bithynia. They waged war along the Pontus as far as Heraclea and Paphlagonia, and laid waste the entire region of Nicomedia, burning everything along the Gulf. Of the people they captured, some they butchered, others they set up as targets and shot at, some they seized upon, and after binding their hands behind their backs, they drove iron nails through their heads. Many sacred churches they gave to the flames, while they burned many monasteries and villages, and took no little booty on both sides of the sea. Then, when the army came out of the east, Pantherius the domestic with 40,000 men, Phocas the patrician with the Macedonians, and Theodore the general with the Thracians, supported by other illustrious nobles, surrounded the Ruses. After taking counsel, the latter threw themselves upon the Greeks, and as the conflict between them was desperate, the Greeks experienced difficulty in winning the upper hand. The Ruses returned at evening to their companions, embarked at night upon their vessels, and fled away. Theophanes pursued them in boats with Greek fire, and dropped it through pipes upon the Russian ships, so that a strange miracle was offered to view. Upon seeing the flames, the Russians cast themselves into the seawater, being anxious to escape, but the survivors returned home. When they came once more to their native land, where each one recounted to his kinsfolk the course of events and described the fire launched from the ships, they related that the Greeks had in their possession the lightning from heaven, and had set them on fire by pouring it forth, so that the Ruses could not conquer them. Upon his return, Igor began to collect a great army, and sent many messengers after the Varangians beyond the sea, inviting them to attack the Greeks, for he desired to make war upon them. The year 6450. Simeon attacked the Croats and was beaten by them. He then died, leaving Peter his son as prince of the Bulgarians. The year 6451. When the Magyars had attacked Zargrad, they returned homeward after they had made peace with Romanus. The year 6452. After collecting many warriors among the Varangians, the Ruses, the Polyanians, the Slavs, the Kravicians, the Taversians, and the Pechenegs, and receiving hostages from them, Igor advanced upon the Greeks by ship and by horse, thirsting for revenge. The Chersonians, upon hearing of this expedition, reported to Romanus that the Ruses were advancing with innumerable ships and covered the sea with their vessels. Likewise the Bulgarians sent tidings to the effect that the Ruses were on the way, and that they had won the Pechenegs for their allies. When the emperor heard this news, he sent to Igor his best boyars to entreat him to come no nearer, but rather to accept the tribute which Oleg had received, and to the amount of which something should even be added. He likewise sent palls and much gold to the Pechenegs. Now Igor, when he came to the Danube, called together his retinue, and after some reflection communicated to them the emperor's offer. Igor's retinue then replied, "If the emperor speaks thus, what do we desire beyond receiving gold, silver, and palls without having to fight for them? Who knows who will be victorious, we or he? Who has the sea for his ally? For we are not marching by land, but through the depths of the sea. Death lies in wait for us all." Igor heeded them and bade the Pechenegs ravage Bulgaria. He himself, after receiving from the Greeks gold and palls sufficient for his whole army, returned again and came to Kiev in his native land. The year 6453. Romanus, Constantine, and Stefan sent envoys to Igor to renew the previous treaty, and Igor discussed the matter with them. Igor sent his own envoys to Romanus, and the emperor called together his boyars and his dignitaries. The Russian envoys were introduced and bidden to speak, and it was commanded that the remarks of both parties should be inscribed upon parchment. A copy of the agreement concluded under the most Christian princes, Romanus, Constantine, and Stefan, follows: "We are the envoys from the Russian nation. Ivar, envoy of Igor, Great Prince of Rus. The general envoys as follows: Vefast, representing Sviatoslav, son of Igor; Iskat for the Princess Olga; Slothi for Igor, nephew of Igor; Olev for Vladislav; Kanitzar for Predslava; Sigbjorn for Svanhild, wife of Olev; Freystein for Thorth; Leif for Arfast; Grim for Sverki; Freystein for Hakon, nephew of Igor; Kari for Stothing; Karlsefni for Thorth; Hegri for Efling; Voist for Voik; Eister for Amund; Freystein for Bjorn; Jatving for Gunnar; Sigfrid for Halfdan; Kil for Klaki; Steki for Jotun; Svergi; Halfar for Guthi; Frothi for Throand; Munthor for Ut; the merchants Athun, Atholf, Ingevald, Olif, Frutan, Gamal, Kusi, Heming, Thorfrid, Thorstein, Bruni, Hrold, Gunfast, Freystein, Ingjald, Thorbjorn, Mani, Hrold, Sven, Styr, Halfdan, Tyr, Askbrand, Vislev, Svenki Borg, sent by Igor, great prince of Rus, and from each prince and all the people of the land of Rus, by whom is ordained the renewal of the former peace to the confusion of the devil, who hates peace and loves discord, and to the establishment of concord between Greeks and Ruses for many years to come. Our great prince Igor and his princes and his boyars and the whole people of Rus have sent us to Romanus, Constantine, and Stefan, the mighty emperors of Greece, to establish a bond of friendship with the emperors themselves, as well as with all their boyars and the entire Greek nation, henceforth and forever, as long as the sun shines and the world stands fixed. If any inhabitants of the land of Rus thinks to violate this amity, may such of these transgressors as have adopted the Christian faith incur condign punishment from Almighty God in the shape of damnation and destruction forevermore. If any of these transgressors be not baptized, may they receive help neither from God nor from Perun. May they not be protected by their own shields, but may they rather be slain by their own swords, laid low by their own arrows, or by any of their own weapons, and may they be in bondage forever.